My name is Diane Dent, Chair of the Friends of Aukmar, and I want to say we are absolutely thrilled that you've all come out, because we all care about Aukmar, we care about heritage, and we care about friends who care about what we care about. So I hope, do you all have a program? If you don't, hopefully you'll share, because I made 90 copies, so you should have them. So what are we doing tonight? We're doing a tribute, thanks to Canada 150, for the Honourable Isaac Buchanan. So you'll see on your program, we are to start at 7:15 and at 7:16. So we're almost on time. So what I'd like to do is just introduce our Master of Ceremonies. And are we fortunate to have Jeff Feswick? He's helped us before, but the fact that he's here tonight, he's going to move things along. He's going to make sure you're happy and healthy and not bored. He's going to give you a little break in the middle to make sure you stretch. But the reason that we're here tonight, as I say, is to honor Isaac Buchanan and to thank all the panel members and everybody who's helped. So who is Jeff Feswick? Jeff is president of Historia Building Restoration, and his bio is on the back of your program. Jeff is an award-winning building restoration leader serving the Toronto and Southern Ontario market since 1989. The portfolio of Historia work ranges from historical buildings, religious places of worship, state-of-the-art contemporary skyscrapers. Jeff is also a patron of the arts at Theatre Aquarius and other boards. He is a member of various art and heritage groups, facilitator of art walks and restaurant walks, and I didn't know about the restaurant walk, so I'll have to ask him about that. Historia Restoration has lovingly restored many of Hamilton's finest heritage buildings, making Jeff's commitment to Hamilton's built heritage evident all around the core. And if you know Treble Hall, he bought that when it wasn't in good shape, restored the exterior, cleaned the interior, and then he sold it with a heritage designation on it. So it's my privilege and great thanks to welcome our MC, Jeff Feswick.
She exaggerates. Anyways, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry Officers Mess at the the John Foote Armory. There you go. Made my first mistake, and that'll probably be my last one. I'm most worried about saying something like Sir Isaac Newton was a fantastic Hamiltonian. So if I say anything like that, you have the right to throw anything in your hand at me, okay? And it's the Buchanan. I'm not going to forget that. I promise. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, as Diane was nice enough to say, my name is Jeff Feswick, and my job today is to pretty much, it's just Master of Ceremonies, easiest job in the world, do some introductions, keep the night light, and keep things moving fast. I think we have about 3 hours worth of material, and we're going to squeeze it into about an hour and a half. So if everyone's cool with that, we're not going to take a whole lot of time on things. You're going to see as we go along. One thing I do want to do, though, is thank the sponsors. There's a few of them, little sponsors, big sponsors, but the biggest sponsor we have here tonight is Canada 150. Very proud to be involved with something that they've helped support. And of course, the other major sponsor that we need, of course, always is Friends of Aukmar, which most of you are very familiar with, the Friends of Aukmar. Those of you who support, yeah, thank you very much. Definitely. This evening's also presented by the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, so a little shout out to them as well, and thank you very much to everybody who's been involved in getting us this far. Tonight we're hoping to bring some knowledge of who the man on the hill really was, and that's what our job tonight is. We want to sort of inform everybody in kind of an interesting and entertaining way, so that when you all leave here tonight, not only will you feel great about Aukmar, as well as everything to do with the Friends of Aukmar, and you'll have a little better knowledge of just who exactly Isaac Buchanan was. So anyways, having said all that, we're going to move forward, and I want to start things off. I want to introduce Mark McNeil, who is the man right here to my right. Mark is an award-winning journalist with the Hamilton Spectator, also a songwriter and local musician. He's going to perform a musical tribute to the Honourable Isaac Buchanan, and he is accompanied by Les Smith. So I'll leave the floor with you fellas.
As probably most people know in the room, this gentleman here in 1862 formed the 13th Battalion, which became the RHLI. And in the 150th anniversary, which was about 5 or 6 years ago, I put together this song to celebrate that. It became a section in the paper. Remember that? Anyway, it's called Private Riley, and it kind of takes the position of a mythical soldier who starts off at the Battle of Ridgeway and ends up in Kandahar 4 verses later. My name is Private Riley. I come from Hamilton. I need some extra shillings, so I joined the battalion. They put me in a cattle car with a battered musket gun. We made a stand at Ridgeway against the bloody fiends. I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier with my pack and uniform. When they called, I was ready, always ready in peace and war. My name was Private Riley, through Flanders and the Somme. I crawled through clouds of chlorine gas along the western front. We waited cold and shivered for the rising of the sun. We hit the ridge at Vimy, had the Germans on the run. I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier, with my pack and uniform. When they called, I was ready, always ready in peace and war. I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier, with my pack and uniform. When they called, I was ready, always ready, peace and war. My name is Private Riley, on the beaches of Dieppe. We waded through the water with our guns above our heads. Jerry sighed and picked us up in a hail of screaming lead. We bravely charged forward as the water all turned red. I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier, with my pack and uniform. When they called, I was ready, always ready in peace and war. My name is Private Riley, deployed in Kandahar. I watched for suicide bombers, forever I'm on guard. And sometimes I do wonder, have I really come that far? From the scared kid with the musket riding in a cattle car. I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier, with my pack and uniform. When they called, I was ready, always ready, peace and war. Always ready, peace and war. Always ready, peace and war.
Great job, honestly, guys. Thank you very much. In the spirit of learning a little bit more about Buchanan, a fellow named Gary Kalbach, you may or may not know him. He's a Hamilton writer, and an editor, and a videographer. He has prepared a short video. I think it's 5 minutes long or so, and we're all looking forward to it, but unfortunately, Gary isn't here with us today. Gary is here. Oh, look who's here. Gary's here. All right, Gary. So, yeah, Gary. Yeah. All right, thanks, Gary. So, I'm glad I only said good things about him. So, we are now going to show the video, the 5-minute video, or thereabouts, 5 minutes. So everyone sit back, relax, and you're going to learn a little bit more about just who was Buchanan. Thank you very much, Larry. Very interesting. And thank you all panel members. As I had mentioned earlier in this evening's mentions, that we were going to have a 1-minute rebuttal for each of the panel members. So I would like to, without further ado, invite Isaac Buchanan, number 1, who is our business representative, Marvin Ryder. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. And we're timing it on 1 minute.
I understand the broken watch is working. Good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really embarrassed at my colleagues tonight for trying to tell you there's any other point of view than business. We start first with the religious point of view. Imagine a man of, 33, marrying a 17-year-old in this day and age of harassment. I don't even think I have to go farther than that. To our military person, absolutely. The infantry was established 1862. Buchanan was 52 at the time. 52 at the time. That isn't his early days. Those are his latter days. And what did he learn from the military, or did he bring his leadership styles and influence the military that way? Clearly, it was his business acumen that made the difference. We heard about politics in here. Yes, how wonderful. A very Trumpian speech. Long on concept, short on content. And last but not least, to talk about architecture. Now, it is a truly beautiful building, but it's not Akmar, it's Akmar 2. It's the sequel to Akmar that was in Scotland. It's a pale comparison to the original Akmar founded by Buchanan's father. Really, ladies and gentlemen, there is only one conclusion to make here tonight. It is his business legacy, which is the most enduring.
And keeping things moving, Peter Young, Buchanan number 2, military.
Well, I agree with my political side in that I am not trying to put down any of my accomplishments. The point is that my military skills allowed me to have all of the other accomplishments. And let's set the record straight. I was first commissioned in Canada, in Toronto, in 1937. I was not 54 years old when I first learned the military trade. And the lasting legacy, if in 150 years we're in the same place with the same decor, with the same uniforms, but now in my dreams the 13th Regiment is the largest militia unit and the most successful in Canada, that would say that my military contribution is the strongest. Thank you.
Take the hat, leave the microphone. Thank you, Peter. Number 3, as our Buchanan number 3, Shannon Kyles. 1 minute.
Okay, at the end of the day, the reason why Akmar and the architecture of it is the most important is because you can do this. You can touch it. You can actually touch it. When you think of the history of architecture, let's talk about business. During the dirty 30s, was that gorgeous Gothic cathedral on James Street uglier because nobody had any money? No. Is it better when people have a lot of money? No. Does money matter at all? When it comes to architecture, no. The human spirit craves beauty. When it comes to politics, the Russian cathedrals, the Russian Gothic cathedrals, were they uglier under fascism than they were under communism? Did anybody care? No. And whether Queen Mary was killing Protestants or the person before her was killing Catholics in the public square in front of the Gothic cathedrals, the Gothic cathedral was still gorgeous. I think it is one of the great ironies of Ontario that as we are building uglier and uglier pieces of architecture for residences. At that same time, and with an equal momentum, we have more and more buildings like Lowe's, Rona, Home Depot, and Home Hardware, so people can add color, and they can add tiling, and they can change their environment to something that is beautiful, because everybody wants to be in a beautiful space. Why did we pick this room? Why did we pick the craftsmanship that goes into this room? Do you notice the trends in craftsmanship? Let's take a look at this Boise-inspired heart. Right, I haven't been in this room ever before, but that heart that is in the stained glass, there's a guy named Alan Stacy who has a house on Beulah. That heart is on his eaves trough. There are also 2 stained glass windows on Aberdeen Street just before going east, just before you get to Queen Street, that has that heart in it. There are trends, there are images, there are icons that make you feel a certain way, and thus they are constantly being reproduced on every different surface, because the human spirit craves beauty, and that is why the architecture is the most important aspect of Buchanan's legacy.
And of course, last but not least, representing Buchanan number 5. Oh, I'm so sorry. What's wrong with me? I'm just going to leave now. Buchanan number 4, if you'd be so sweet, you got 5 more minutes if you like. I was going to speak religion.
What are you, like Lutheran?
There's one most important fact that's missing tonight, being in this beautiful room and at the Armories, is that this Armories is named after a great Presbyterian. John W. Foote was the only chaplain in World War II to receive the Victoria Cross. He entered the Presbyterian ministry in 1934 and enlisted in Canadian chaplain service 5 years later, assigned to that Royal Hamilton Light Infantry as chaplain. And for his courageous actions during the war, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, the British Commonwealth, a highest military decoration for valor, the Victoria Cross. So that's John Weir Foote, and this is named after him. So I love being here too because of the Presbyterian aspect. And in McNabb Street was wrestling in 1900. They had to renovate again. And do you believe it or not, James Isaac, one of the sons of the Buchanans, came back to McNabb Street, and by that time he was living in the United States and was a millionaire. And he left money to add a choir room, a meeting place, and the board of managers, and a vestry for the minister in memory of his father, who served as chairman of the board for so many years. So you see, it's most important being Presbyterian.
That was exactly 60 seconds. That's fantastic. And last now but not least, Isaac Buchanan, number 5, political leader, also known as Larry Diani. 1 minute there.
Thank you, sir. Well, listen, these are all aspects of me, and so I'm not going to rebut what they had to say, because what they had to say is important and it is lasting. We have the architecture, we have the contribution to the religious life, we have this building and the Rileys, and we have the remnants, if not of personal wealth that and hard fortune that befell me, but certainly the institutions that were motivated by me. But they're all part of me. And so I'm going to be the diplomat. And thank you very much for being good people to listen, but also keep in mind that when we have problems in our society, we look to government to solve them. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. That was fantastic. Now, I think everyone's aware, it is time now to vote, and I don't want to wait too long because our memories might fade just to who we really thought were the favorite. And keeping in mind, personality matters, what they had to say matters, but what matters ultimately the most is were they convincing in proving it was Buchanan's most long-lasting impact. So I'm going to actually kind of squeeze between the panel and the Christmas tree. I'm going to stand behind each one of them, and when I stand there, I want you all to applaud for that particular Buchanan. Diane always has the final ruling here. Is that true, Peter? Diane always has the final ruling. 100%. And Diane's vote went to?
It's a tie.
It's a tie. Come on, the two, we call them winners?
No.
The two
Creators.
The two creators, the two best creators, stand up, please. That's the first place stakes. It's a poster. Now, it's a picture. So the top 5 presenters also get, and I believe that Pavan from Radius had something to do with this, so just a little shout out to Radius. Fantastic restaurant. If you haven't been there at least a dozen times, go over there. And these are beautiful bottles of wine. And I believe we have the Buchanan label on it as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, to wind things down, I'd like to introduce Honorary Lieutenant Colonel Don Cranston, who is right over here. He is going to just quickly for us all, for the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry, give us a brief 13th Battalion Ockmeyer Trust update.
Since I'm allowed to interfere once in a while, I think that I have to find another special prize, because I would say that Mr. Buchanan, the Honorable Isaac Buchanan, should stand, because I think he gets the costume prize.
That's what you can do with natural hair.
So, oops. Even though this is towards the end of the evening, I do want to welcome everyone here tonight on behalf of the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry. And as you all have seen, this room is indeed extremely special, and there's some great lessons for us all here and how that impacts Ockmar. In that, in Toronto, I was born in Kingston, but raised in Ancaster, and now live in Toronto. Toronto has done some big mistakes in its past, and one of them was the famous armory that was on University Avenue was torn down in the 1960s and replaced with a couple of modern armories, which are frankly disgusting. And there are officers from throughout Ontario, and particularly Toronto, who always want to be invited to a mess dinner here because it's the last of one of the truly Victorian messes in Ontario, let alone Canada. So a very special room, and you walk into this room and you feel history right off the bat. The portraits along the wall are of the past commanding officers of the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry, and as we pointed out earlier, in the left-hand corner of my right is Isaac Buchanan. Other important things to notice that the RHLI is one of only 6 regiments left in Canada that still carries the Union flag as the Queen's colour, and we will fight to retain that, since it is still known as the Union Jack is still the royal flag of Canada. Buildings like this are important in that they connect us to the past. There's a feel to it, as was said earlier, and there are a number of fights to be fought because there are pressures to be in Ottawa to close places like this down, and we will fight that. not only us as units, both the RHLI and the Argylls, but we need the citizens of Hamilton to fight against that type of threat as well. So, on to, oh, and by the way, a little bit of trivia for Jeff. Jeff was a year behind me at high school. He didn't see me much because I was in the principal's office quite a bit. And, I learned to hold the hands high in the strap because there's less downforce if you hold the hands high. And the fellow who was involved in that is, if you look to the rear, just to the right of the Caribou, former commanding officer is John Rumble, who was our high school principal. So there's a connection there. So, quickly on to an update on the 13th Battalion Akmar Trust. I am not involved in the trust, but the two gentlemen to my left and right are, and we thought we'd give a quick update of what's going on. There's been a lot of activity, and these gentlemen have kindly updated me on this. We have an amended application for incorporation of a company without share capital. That's been delivered to the public guardian, so incorporation is underway. We've made tremendous contacts out to help us with this project, including the National Trust for Canada. And the bylaws are completed, and the business plan is being polished up right now. So that legal side of it is well underway. The big hurdle for us all, of course, is going to be the capital raise, and I believe that can be done. And everyone, again, in this room can be involved in that process. And that's lobbying government, lobbying businesses, lobbying influential individuals in our community in Ontario and in Canada to say this is a very important place. And I thank you for being here tonight. We're honored that you're all here, and we want Hamilton actually to see more Hamiltonians to see this room. And so we're glad to have you here. And I wonder if there are any questions from anyone on the status of the project. Okay, good. I'm going now. So, thank you all.
Folks, really happy to be involved in this evening. It's been a very fun evening. Marvin, I thought you did an excellent job prosecuting the case for business. To me, it's common sense that... well, it all came down to shouting, and of course the military guys love to shout, and they know how to do that particularly well. I was surprised though the architectural buffs also were able to bring their volume that high. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you all for being involved. As the president and CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, 172-year institution, I know very well that I stand on the shoulders of giants, but as we've seen tonight, there are none wider than Isaac Buchanan, the founder of this organization. I have joked about this in the past with the Friends of Akmar that I have actually, in many occasions, asked myself, WWIBD, what would Isaac Buchanan do? Seriously, on a few things, and in particular on LRT, and we've talked about this in the past, but obviously Isaac Buchanan has a great history in the railroad. I know that he would be a fierce advocate for LRT in this community, and for so many other progressive and for so many other ambitious sorts of initiatives at this very important time in our community. So it is a great North Star for me, and it should be for all of us, whether it be in religion or architecture or politics. We should all be asking ourselves, WWIBD, except for the whole bankruptcy stuff and all that, which we've lost tonight. But it really is a good inspiration and a good impetus for driving forward. So I will leave you with that. If the energy in this room is any indication, I know that you will be highly successful in your efforts to save Akmar. We're hugely supportive of that. So whatever you need from the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, we are there. I think I get the opportunity to strike up the band, so I will, no? Okay, Diane has the last word.
You know, one of your colleagues, Richard Allen, he
Yes.
knew exactly what you'd like at the Chamber. So on behalf of the Friends of Akmar and all of your colleagues, we want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. over my desk, and I will constantly look up and say, www.
All right? We're going to close on a song, but before we do that, what I'd like to do is what all of you would like to do, I think, is to thank a lot of people here. Jeff Feswick, our MC, Mark McNeil, and Les Smith, Gary Colbeck. Gary, are you still here? Yes. Gary's done a wonderful video also for the Dovecote, so if you go on the Friends of Aukmar, you'll see it. Our panel members, and I know there's someone in the audience who wants to say something about that. So Marvin, Peter, Shannon, Marilyn, and Larry. I mean, it was wonderful. Do you want to say something quickly now?
I want to just say a special word of thanks to the debaters. They obviously put a lot of time, effort, talent, and really I can't remember the last time I've been at a debate where I was so taken up by it. I didn't think we should have a winner. I think the winner is Hamilton. And the winner is Buchanan and his memory. But these people really put themselves out for this, what they did tonight, and they shone like stars. Thank you very much.
So in addition to the panel, I want to thank Don Cranston, Keenan Loomis, Glenn Smith, and all the amazing supporters of the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry, Brian Buckle and Richard Mall, and the board of the Friends of Aukmar. If the board would just stand up quickly and wave your hands so they know who you are. And Pavan, are you still here? Yes, there's Pavan. So Pavan's terrific, and so if you go to Radius, you'll see a photograph of the Isaac Buchanan, and explain to everyone, Pavan, what's on the menu with the cocktails.
Yeah, we've got a copy of the original notes from Mrs. Buchanan, taking an inventory of the liquor cabinet. It's in the bar menu. And we have a drink named after the owner.
And it was through Pavan that the Creekside Estate Winery and Jordan Station has helped with the wine. And of course, Jason at Reproducts Printing. But you might say, but who really was the brainchild behind this? It was not Diane Dent. It was Richard Allen. And Richard is right here, right? We all said, Richard, this is going to be too much work. Well, Richard spent the day here getting everything set up. So, what would we say to the panel? We'd say thank you for educating us, coming to volunteer, and we'd like a hard copy of all your presentations because I think that would really help. Right? And now we're going to sing something, but before we do, I think Mark is going to explain what it is, and I'm going to have some hands.
Be appropriate to finish off. You know, I thought of maybe trying to write a song about Buchanan, but Buchanan is a very tough rhyme. I thought perhaps I could do something with the 11 children, but then not in polite company. That is a very impressive accomplishment, 11 children. Yeah, especially for his wife. But I also thought, though, at the time of Buchanan, there was a fellow in Bimbrook who wrote a song called "When You and I Were Young Maggie." Turned out to be one of the greatest folk songs ever, and it was written in the 1860s. Who is familiar with the song? Anybody heard? Yeah, good. There used to be, or probably still is, a plaque in Benbrook for this.
the scene below. The creek and the creek in Old Mill.